Liam Gallagher was sitting next to you, and then Marilyn Manson was like on the other side of you. Lady Gaga was one of our hosts, and people are like, oh my God, Lady Gaga, she worked for you. I'm like, I don't remember meeting her. A bouncer almost tried to beat me up because I stood up to him.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me in the tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
Okay, who are you? What do you do? What have you done? How do we know each other?
Oh my God, I'm Justine D, known as Justine D.
Justine D, the conduit for my nightlife career, and most importantly, the queen of downtown New York City nightlife. She is rock and roll punk rock royalty and paved the way for girls like me. 1/4 of Motherfucker, a legendary holiday weekend rock and roll night in New York City, she curated and DJ'd. There is no better way to kick off Roxy's Tales than with my roommate of 4 years in the early Y2K era. She set my sails in motion by introducing me to nightlife and making me a sub-promoter for Motherfucker in my early days. Enjoy as Justine and I stroll down memory lane.
I guess I've been a DJ for how long now? About 22 years. Native New Yorker. Music snob. We met, I don't remember how old I was. I want to say I was 24, maybe. Yeah, maybe 23 or 24. And we met at Spa. So I've known you for probably well over 20 years, and we were roommates.
I think that was the it was my junior year that we met, but I went off for that furniture design program and you moved in while I was in Denmark, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. We met at Spa nightclub, kind of like to see if we liked each other. And we probably spoke for 5 minutes.
I was like, this is the coolest girl I've ever met in my life. Of course she's gonna be my roommate. So you started DJing what year?
Started DJing, I think in 99. So it was still the 90s.
And you were doing regular parties I know of at Life. I never went there, right?
Yeah, you never went there. I met you after Life. So Life was really my first big club gig. And I want to say that Life was not the first place that I DJ'd at, but it was definitely one of the first venues that I DJ'd at as well. So Life, I was a part of a Wednesday night rock and roll party. And it was a mod party. Or maybe it was called Lust. Girl, I don't remember.
What was the name? There was also a night at Bar 13 that I went to around the time of meeting Tracy, who was the one who introduced us, Tracy Tanner.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But it was like a mod night. I forget what it was called.
It was called Shout.
Shout. Yeah, Shout. What night was that?
Sundays.
What night was TisWas?
TisWas was on Saturdays. So TisWas, when I just started going there in like 95, as a college student, no, probably 94. No, 95 or 96, I don't know. But then I was in college and it was on Thursday nights at Coney Island High. And that's way before I started working with Nick. I think I started working with him in 99 or 2000, probably. And then it moved.
Started working with him on TisWas, just TisWas?
Yeah, well, Nick and I met at TisWas on Thursday nights when it was at Coney Island High. And I was just a teenage club goer, like a 20-year-old club goer. And then I started working with Nick when TisWas was moved to Don Hills on Saturday nights. But Nick and I were, TisWas was not the first party that we started working on together at first. The first party that we started working together, like being part of the same team, was that party at Life on Wednesday night.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I started off as a fan of Nick Marks, like just going to all of his DJ gigs, and he was DJing everywhere. I mean, he was DJing at Wax Bar, which was a Soho lounge, um, where Liam Gallagher was sitting next to you, and then Marilyn Manson was like on the other side of you. So weird. And that was mid late 90s. And then Nick asked me to host and DJ TisWas for him
Cool.
after we worked
You
together.
had just been collecting records like all your life, or?
No, I mean, it started, well, I mean, my mom had a pretty vast vinyl collection of 45s, like pristinely kept 45s in these beautiful little 60s mod 45 cases. And then my dad had a pretty big vinyl collection as well, but he didn't take care of his records. So I grew up with records in the house, and, being born in the 70s and growing up in the 80s and 90s, like, we didn't really listen to tapes. It was really records, and then like tapes and CDs later on. So I started collecting records probably at the age of 19 or 20.
And so when I met you in 2000, I started going to spa regularly, probably. Yes. And any other like special gig you would have had. I know I started then, us or me just following you around. I actually have pictures of us in the bathroom at Lit.
Oh no, really? Oh God.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was definitely sober at Lit. Oh, you know something? That was my 26th birthday party. Girl, some of these things are so blurry for me. I usually had big bands play my Lit anniversaries. Like I had Glass Candy play, and then I'll have Japanther. But for my birthday parties, I don't think I had a band.
This was Friday nights at Lit?
Friday nights. I was the first, and this is like nothing to be proud of, but I was the first promoter that Lit called to do a party at their space. And I love the experience of Lit. It's fine, but I always used to show up in these really cute, like, designer outfits and think to myself, Jesus Christ, this is the crappiest place to wear nice clothing. I'm so sick of wearing really nice, expensive clothing to Lit. And then that's when I said, I just gotta stop working here.
I was so, I think, just enamored with, a woman who controlled her own destiny and threw parties till 4 a.m. and slept until noon and taught me to walk in high heels and just was so cool. I was like, this is a dream.
Well, now that's the best way to break in heels, is to wear them around your apartment before they hit the street and clean in them. Like I used to vacuum and mop our apartment in my black Gucci heels, which I still have. And that's the best way to break them in.
Yeah. So what were some other places that you would go to? Because I know you were also DJing at TisWas around this time, too.
I mean, Saturdays. Simultaneously, I was working at probably the busiest schedule that I ever had was I used to work 4 to 5 nights a week, just DJing and promoting, or a combination of the two. Sway on Mondays, some party on Wednesdays, which was either at Life or Spa, given the time period. Then I think my Thursday night party, Trans Am, was on Thursday nights. Then after that, Lit came later, Lit on Friday nights. TisWas on Saturday nights. So I was working a lot. Yeah. And it didn't all happen at the same time. Like there were some months where party would go away, or then I'd kill one party and then pick up another. But yeah, I was working 4 to 5 nights a week.
And then Mofo was on the holidays.
Yes. So Motherfucker happens 6 to 8 times a year and only on 3-day weekends, like the big 3-day weekends.
Mofo happened, I know, at like, I remember going to Eugene's, Downtime,
Yeah.
the Roxy. Where was this one? Because this is the one with Moby. This was later on that
That was probably at Eugene. And everyone loves to point this out except for Michael. If you go back to it, Lady Gaga was one of our hosts, and people are like, "Oh my God, Lady Gaga, she worked for you." I'm like, I don't remember meeting her ever. I didn't handle the hosts. I think Georgie Seville hired her, and she was like a fan of Michael, like a pretty big fan of Michael T's, or that's what I heard.
Yeah.
When she told RuPaul that on some podcast recently.
07. Like the date is on here. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Oh, that was way later on. Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
this is probably like a year before she became a recording artist or something.
but I remember too, well, I talked to Joseph Patel. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, Jasbo, yeah.
Jasbo. And I thought I had met him like later on when I started promoting, but he remembered, because he's good friends with Sarush, that they came to Mofo and there was something, I don't know what, I think it was maybe the night that the Rapture played.
Probably at Club Shelter in 2002.
And like something happened. There was, I think it was raining, and like the door person was there, and you were like, you told me like, you're doing the door, just do the door right now. We need you to help with the door. And I stood at the door for like a little while, bringing, like, I don't know if I was taking money or what I was doing, but he said that I like ushered them in. And that was his first memory of meeting me and Suresh was like, there's this really cool girl, Roxy, like there's something about her.
That night we had the cops come, the Rapture's gear got thrown out onto the street by the bouncers. It got rained on. A bouncer almost tried to beat me up because I stood up to him because I tried shutting the party down early. Every horrible club cliche that could have happened kind of happened that night. Our party had grown from like a 400-person party, and that was the first party, which is pretty good if you think about it. Like a 400-person party to the first anniversary, we drew over 1,000. And then by the time our second year anniversary came, we needed a venue that could hold 2,000 people because we just kept growing and growing. I would say that the two most notable acts for us were having the Cramps and the New York Dolls. And in between having the Cramps and the New York Dolls, like, of course we had local bands that were kind of on their way up.
The Liars?
We never had Liars play because they were too weird. Like they were too artsy in a way, and Michael and Johnny didn't get it. Like I loved them, right?
No, you did.
But by the time the whole New York band explosion happened from 2000 to 2001, we didn't really have bands, like too many bands then, and so I feel like we kind of missed out on having the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and maybe having the Strokes and all those bands. So I met Dave because Dave introduced himself to me at a TisWas party. Maybe, if memory serves me, he came up to me while I was in the DJ booth and just introduced himself. And I think I had taken over TisWas that night because Nick used to go on vacation, and then I'd have to take over. And Dave introduced himself, and shortly after that, I think he asked me to start DJing for him in Philly.
But I also not credit you, but I remember like when I lived in Philly and, was going to Making Time in Hollertronics regularly. And then they were putting out their Never Scared mixtape, the first Hollertronics mixtape. And I was like, Justine, these guys are like, they have this great sound. It's so exciting. And I think I should promote this in New York. and you were like, you should, no one else is going to.
Yeah, I mean, you really pioneered it.
How was, like, because since you were very heavy in the nightlife during 9/11, how did that change, and like what was that like?
I have to tell you, my recollection of it is that it did not change at all, because I think a lot of people have this notion that that nightlife either went like rather dormant during that stage because everyone was possibly grieving, or that it propelled people to party even more. And everyone's recollection is going to be a little bit different, but for me, like, working and nightlife never stopped.
Yeah.
Even during this horrible era of like 9/11 happening and post 9/11. Um, it was crazy before 9/11 and it was crazy after 9/11. I think a lot of it has to do with youth though as well. Young people don't, I can only speak for myself, but I really lived in a bubble. Like I didn't really think globally. I really thought about my own scene and my own existence. Oh my God, why are we all wet?
We were riding bikes. This was the summer of the bicycle.
Oh, that was a special summer.
I don't know where we were going or what we were doing. Oh, this is from Making Time though.
No, that's not from Making Time.
Not?
So this picture was at a party in Brooklyn that I don't know what part of Brooklyn, but it was before Brooklyn was cool, right? And they had they had a boxing ring. And we were going to go up and box together, box one another. It was either boxing or maybe mud wrestling or just plain wrestling. But there was some type of a ring and they invited people to go up and fight.
So what year did Studio B start?
Studio B, the bane of my existence. Studio B started in 2006.
And you were promotional director?
Oh no, girl, I was everything.
No, I know you were, but what was your title
No,
there?
but it was horrible. Oh, creative director,
Director.
which entailed PR, marketing, booking all the acts, and night manager.
Well, you know what, Studio B was interesting because, you know, I had really started, I mean, I started DJing probably 2005, seriously, and switched to Serato in like 2006 or 7. But it was this night in 2008 where it was like my first big room that I played. And I felt like I was like, I crushed it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually really good and I can hang with the guys.
I didn't realize that was your first like big room.
Yeah.
And that's a big room.
Yeah. It's huge.
It's a very
capacity.
Legal, probably 700, but we used to jam like 1,800 people in there whenever we could.
I remember also Crystal Castles being a really fun night.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but I do remember booking them.
Yeah.
Studio B was definitely the first of its kind, but we had been warmed up a little bit, maybe 2 years prior, by Volume.
Yeah.
So I remember Volume, but not too many people do.
I do.
And I said to myself when I got the keys to Studio B, I said, I know a big club can work in this neighborhood because young people are not that far away. And a cab ride from Manhattan to Brooklyn is doable. And I've seen it done at Volume.
Do you have some nights you wish you could relive from that era?
No, not at all.
What about riding bikes around in the rain with me?
You know, this is something about my personality is that I feel like everything has a time and a place and that it belongs in that time and place. Like just, it's so funny, Rox. Like I've been doing so many or over the past 2 years, I've been doing so many interviews about this era. Like people have really, because, the 90s have been in for the past couple of years. So now it's about so soon it's going to be about the early aughts, right? So people are gearing up to kind of to acknowledge my era and your era. And it's actually one question that people ask me consistently is there anything you wish you had done? Or like, do you miss a certain, like, what's your fondest memory? I'm like, well, or do you wish that you could change anything about that time? And I'm just like, it was great. It was great. It's all over. I'm like, I think for me, what I'm going through now is that with age is like you're able to look at everything in hindsight.
I moved to New York to be a designer.
Yeah.
And then, thank God, met you to help me fulfill this like purpose of mine in life, which is, really now I can see that I empowering other people and shining light and giving people a stage to share their talent is like one of my best qualities. And I probably would not have known that ever. I mean, I'm sure it would have come out some other way, but you really helped me form that in myself, see that in myself. But I did move to New York to be a designer, and so going back to school was so important for me and made me, or allowed me to take a step away and see that it's not what I need to do for the rest of my life in nightlife and music.
And it is good to realize, or I think you're right when you say that there is a talent in showcasing the talents of other people. And that's what I always loved about even about being a DJ, is that I'm not playing my own music. I'm playing the music of other people. And when I book an act, I give the people or these artists a space to do what they do. And I always loved that aspect of the job. Like I loved working with all of the DJs and all of the musicians. And and a lot of them became my friends. And so that is where I found a lot of my strengths. It's like I found that a lot of my strength came in the form of bringing people together and under one roof, and like-minded people, and just giving them this way to release whatever they needed to release. But I do like the fact that it's in the past and that it's not a part of my present. It's important. Because, girl, I don't want to do the same things that I've been doing at the age of 25 when I'm 50.
I know. Well, that is also, like, me, and like I'm a hyper creative person, and I think you're a similar way, where it's like if you're creative and you'll be happy, in whatever medium you choose to work in.
Exactly.
Like such a blessing.
I know. I always tell the man that I'm with at the time that I feel, and it's been Eamon for a long time, like I always feel like I need to be progressing. I can't feel as if I'm not moving forward or upward. Like I have to be. And also I don't think I get bored, but I want to feel challenged. And when something is not a challenge anymore, I have no interest in doing it. Meaning it'll always be a part of me, and maybe I'll do it for fun, but it doesn't have to define who I am anymore.
What are some songs that define those early 2000s for you? You can also email me.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the party though.
Yeah.
Because I played slightly different, like I played slightly different sets at each one. I mean, like there are huge differences to me, but to anyone else, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's not too different. But but yeah, well, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, that Fisher Spooner Emerge song was played so much, so much, and not just at my party, but at every party.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it really depends on the party.
Look at us.
So young.
I know. But
Mhm.
thank you so much. And you're my first mentor and my idol and such a great role model, and
I love you.
love you too.
Bye, Roxy.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.